Welcome to Your Mother as Your Number One Ally. Don't wait before it's too late. So, during this hour webinar, I will share as much as I can with you. There is, of course, so much that could be talked about and experienced. An hour is a short time, so we'll do our best here. And for those that have a desire to go deeper, I will share how you can at the end. Plus, I have a special offer. I'd like you to, if you have any questions, just hold on to them or just jot them down until the end, and we will have a Q&A at the end of the call. I would like you for this next hour to please turn off your cell phones and anything else that may distract you, and just find a comfortable place to sit, bringing your attention into your heart. And I'd like you to close your eyes and connect with your breath. Just let go of your day and be present here in our circle. Feeling your seat beneath you and how you're rooted into the earth, connected into the earth, supported by what's beneath you. And just breathe deep. And as you're arriving here in your body, in your breath, and in your heart, just open your eyes. And I'd like to begin with just sharing my story. I've had a deep calling to work with women in their relationship to mother. I work with individuals in their own relationship and mothers and daughters together to create a relationship that is life-giving and supportive. Never before, really, in our collective history, has there been a more important time than the present for women to really step out into the world powerfully with their gifts. But that wound around mother is one that many of us carry, and it keeps us stuck. So my inspiration to create MDR, Mother Daughter Roadmap, and be a mother mentor was born from both my collective experience as a healer, a yoga teacher, a transformational life coach, a health coach, a spiritual guide, as well as my commitment to my own personal journey. And as a mom of 6 children who are 17 to 28. And I've been doing these things for nearly 30 years. So I've been pretty invested and committed on this path. Well, in late September of last year, my first grandchild, my grandson, was born. And during that time, it was a very unusual birth in that 5 days prior to the birth of Jesse, my daughter was in a car accident, and she had 16 skull fractures, a fractured sacrum, and she almost died. She was airlifted to the hospital. She was in Colorado, and I'm here on the East Coast. And she was in pretty rough shape, as you can imagine. And they released her, though, after 4 days because she had no brain damage. And they drove up back home And the next day she went into labor. And because she grew up in a family where she had all natural health care and yoga and just a very healthy lifestyle, and her mother had all home births, she wanted to have a home birth. But the midwife said, you know what, you can't do this because if you push, the intracranial pressure could damage your skull. So she ended up in the hospital, but she had that birth, she had that baby with no drugs. And the OB said to her, if you push, you will hurt yourself, so you can't push. And you have to have this baby purely with your breath and the contractions, and basically surrender to just open and allow life to move through. And she did it. She did it in 5 hours. Um, a very strong young woman, 24 years old. So she came home, and I arrived there a couple of days later, and I ended up spending a month there. And during that time, it was so profound. It was such a deep experience, not only of, you have a baby and all that happens after you have a baby, but this was even beyond that because of her injuries. And what started to channel through me and get reinvigorated was my own connection, that really deep place inside that I had been carrying with me for all the years I was with my kids and birthing them, but also the a lot of the Native American ceremony and teachings that I experienced from my mentors, from my guides. And I it was just such a profound, powerful experience. And that's where Mother Daughter Roadmap got born. It was from that experience with my daughter. And here is a picture of her and the baby. And this was pretty soon after her accident. So maybe a couple of weeks. So that was just such a powerful experience. And so here we are. So in this webinar today, you will discover the root of why you feel powerless in your relationship with mother, and learn ways to relax into your fully empowered being. You'll learn how you broke your own heart in this relationship and how you can restore that wholeness, integrity, and self love, and aligning with those places inside of you. I will share some techniques to experience that freedom, comfort, and connection in your body, and steps to create a sacred relationship with yourself and your daughter as your number one ally, or your mother. So you are in the right place if you're a mom or a daughter, and you're probably one or the other. You are on a spiritual path and desire to go deeper. You have that urge, that and the desire for your mother-daughter relationship to be life-giving, to be supportive and connected, honoring and respecting each other. So what does mother as ally really mean? And by the way, these pictures, this is another one of my daughters. Um, so I just have such a beautiful connection with them that I love sharing them in my work. Um, so mother as ally is an alliance. And, it's like you have each other's back and you're on a team. You're on that same team together. Mother is really an expression of love, nurturing, and self care. So it's a way in which we tap into that place of the mother inside, and we create an alliance together, both with ourselves as our own mother internally, and with our daughters or our mothers. So, how does our relationship with mother affect our personal power, our emotional heart, and how we express ourselves? The first point is that we model the way that we care for and nurture ourselves and others from our experience with our mom, whatever it was. We then internalize these behaviors and pass them on to our children. So it's a generational pattern that gets set up. Number two is our unconscious and conscious beliefs around our self worth, our personal power, and self respect really distort and limit our ability to stand up for ourselves, our ability to hold boundaries and say yes or no, and to have faith, courage, and inner strength. So, for example, if you believe, or if I, when I have believed, and this is my personal experience of this, um, that what I what I give and the way I give is never enough, and that I have to keep proving myself, proving that I am worthy, proving that I am of value. I will end up that distorted belief that I have to prove myself really, it has left me in my life in the past where I wouldn't have a boundary. I would say, come on in, take what you want, because that shows that I am offering value. Number three is our birthright to really feel comfortable in our own skin. So, how do you feel about your body and your sexuality? Is there any fear, shame, or doubt? As a mother mentor, I work with women all of the time to heal those old beliefs that have ended up in one, not feeling worthy or unable to really stand up for yourself and have boundaries. And I have a story of a client. She was about 25 years old, a beautiful young woman, and she felt powerless around men. She would give, and yet felt that they never wanted her, and it was never enough. The result was she didn't give back to herself because she had to keep giving outside of herself. She was too concerned about losing the love of others, and she had difficulty saying no. She became a people pleaser, especially to men. And she was so hard on herself, so self critical, and angry at her body. Like it was never skinny enough, it was never beautiful enough. It, it just bothered her that it wasn't doing what she wanted it to do. And her mom just happened to do the same thing with her dad. Her mom always felt less than, not as good, and that she could never do enough or be smart enough or capable, always trying to please. The result was that she felt so drained and dissatisfied and a deep sense of loss, really yearning for that love. So during our sessions, she experienced physical pain and discomfort that would show up, in her back and her shoulders, her knee. And as we worked through with guided meditations and other self awareness exercises, she discovered that connection between the pain inner body and the old memories of her childhood as she started to reclaim those forgotten parts of herself that she had left behind that were kind of stored safely where they would be protected. And those parts were really her truth that got denied and abandoned. Through that reclamation process, she experienced a deep sense of inner peace and relaxation and joy that got freed up. That deep love that she was desiring was right there, waiting for her to just come back home. So, a question I have right now for you all is um, how has your personal power and the way you express yourself been affected by either unconscious beliefs that have been distorted or the way that you have modeled your mom? I'd like you to just take a moment to write down your responses. So, again, how has your personal power and the way you express yourself been affected? And I'll just give you a minute to a couple of minutes actually, just to consider that and write down your responses. And you may also want to include in this how you feel about your body and your sexuality, and if there is any fear, shame, or doubt. Okay, so just wrapping that up. Any other thoughts you may have? And this leads us to the next topic, which is how we broke our own heart and how we continue to break our own heart. So here is a list of ways, for example, that disconnection. When we disconnect from ourself, we are breaking our own heart. We're leaving ourself. We are in a place of shutdown and we abandon ourselves. There's separation. All of these are really lead us to a deep sense of loss and grief, grieving for our own heart, yearning for that place of connection deep inside of ourselves, and believing that you are less than or not enough because you are believing based on a distorted image that you have of how you should be based on what you were taught, what you were told, what you saw, and not respecting yourself. Another way that we break our own heart, not respecting our bodies. You know, how often do we do things like abuse ourselves with things like food that is not good for us, or pushing ourselves until we are so exhausted just to make sure that everybody's happy or that all the work gets done. and how much we're going against our own energetic and physiological natural rhythms, cycles, losing faith in yourself. How often do you lose faith in yourself or trusting life that everything that is showing up is purposeful and perfect, and somehow there is a stunning life lesson there, but we lose faith. We lose faith that we can do it, that we can accomplish something that will be successful. We lose faith in our relationships, and we break our own heart in doing that. And then lastly, being ashamed or guilty or doubting yourself. And again, that is similar to what I've mentioned, but holding guilt that you were wrong for something, for feeling a certain way. You shouldn't feel that way. It's a way in which we deny what our truth is, and then we don't have our voice. We don't listen to what our body's trying to tell us, or an expression that's inside of us that has a message, and we're not paying attention because we're ashamed that we should feel such a way. These are ways that we end up in denial and disconnecting and breaking our own heart. So I have a story. Um, as a young girl, I loved to dance, and my mom was a concert pianist. So she would be practicing for hours a day. And I had this stunning experience of just dancing and dancing while my mom would play the piano. And it was really so freeing and so beautiful. I loved dance. It was my passion. So when I was 12 years old, I tried out for the New York City Ballet after studying for years at the American Ballet Theater. So in my mind, ABT wasn't good enough. I used to be in awe watching the Balanchine dancers and going to the ballet, and I wanted to fly across the stage like one of them. So I did go and try out, and I ended up getting rejected. I was really devastated. As I said, I was 12, and that's a pretty fragile time in a girl's life. So after a year or so, I ended up stop dancing. And in my mind, what I remember is that I justified stopping out of the feeling that I was growing up and kind of growing out of it. Like dancing was what little girls did. And I also felt like I was being made fun of by my friends for dancing, like it's such a baby thing to do or something. So, in retrospect, what I saw was I was burying my pain and denying the one passion that I had to be a dancer. I really broke my own heart by abandoning what I loved out of fear of rejection. So, my question for you is, how have you given up what was true in your heart out of fear, doubt, feeling shame, or not believing in yourself? So, I'd like you to take a couple of minutes and just write down your response, how you have given up something that was true for you in your heart out of fear or doubt, feeling ashamed, or not believing in yourself. Okay, and just wrap up what you're writing as we continue on our journey here. What can we do to restore and reconcile our relationship? Number one is to create an ally in yourself through healing and reclaiming that mother aspect of yourself. As I said earlier, our mother is an expression of love, nurturing, and self care. And this healing extends forward to our children and behind to our mother. So, a little bit in just a few minutes, we're going to discuss different ways to do this. So, I'd like to just continue to number two of how we can reconcile or restore our relationship. Number two is reconnecting with what is sacred in our roots as women. Listen to your body, honoring and respecting all aspects of who you are, including the sensations, the feelings, and really get to know your own rhythms and cycles. We are all unique in our rhythms and have different needs. It's so powerful to observe how much, for example, the sleep that you need, or when you're most productive or desire rest, or when you feel like being social or quiet. And getting to know your high and low energy times. With awareness, you can align with these cycles to work in accordance with them rather than fighting what is naturally occurring. So, for example, my energy is really high in the morning. I, no matter what, I get up early. So it's important I go to bed at a reasonable time because if I don't, I end up not having enough sleep. So I know my body does best with 7 hours sleep. And I get up in the morning when I do yoga and, I have my really important things I do to help to center, ground me, and just being clarity. Um, and the morning, therefore, is a really the best time for me to create, write. That's when I do my projects because I'm the most energized. And then I find like in the afternoon is best when I'm outside and it's like I could move more in my body. And so I'm just very tuned into that's the best time. If I want to go for a bike ride, that's a good time for me to do it. I could do it in the morning, but then if I choose to do that, I don't do usually the creative thing. And this isn't an everyday thing. It really varies. Um, but to align with understanding what your cycles are energetically um, will serve you to be able to live in the most vital and just highly energized and relaxed way that you can. The other thing that I just want to stick in there regarding connecting with what's sacred in our roots as women is in as far as these rhythms is also tuning in to cycles of the moon and how you align, how physiologically you align and energetically. So that's just another tool to be aware of that you can play with if you haven't already. Number three is to create new traditions with each other that really help to connect with what is most important in ourselves and each other as empowered women, no matter how old you are. This is a way to bring in your sacred lineage and rebuild trust and feel safe through things like celebrations and art and caring for your body, creating ceremony, and communicating honestly with each other. So, for example, I was thinking about new traditions. What kinds of things you can do to create with a mom and daughter? Um, so, for example, maybe like on Sundays, you spend time in nature together. Maybe you hike a mountain or do something that's new and new for both of you to explore something that is in nature that perhaps challenges you or nurtures you. And number four is that when challenges do arise, and for a clear reflection, that mother mentor kind of relationship is so effective to reflect clearly what is your process versus your daughter's. So I have a great example. I'm working with a mom and a daughter. The daughter is 19, and the mom came to me because she felt like she was losing her daughter and she felt really scared. What she's discovering is that her fear is more about the loss that she experienced of her mom on a psychic level. And she's beginning to reclaim that lost little girl inside that's yearned to be united with the mother, rather than feeling that separate, disconnected, and alone feeling for so many years. This reuniting is experienced first for her as a healing. And then there is great joy and love and just celebration. Having that mother mentor is a very powerful way to see the beliefs, the stories, and the distortions that cloud what is true, and then open to the love that awaits. How can you create a sacred relationship? Number one, expressing what is most important, your truth. I'd like to suggest a structure that I find is a simple structure that's very powerful. And it's having this dyad with your daughter or your mother. And in this structure, let's say 15 minutes you take, and during that time, you each take a turn to speak. And the other just listens. No commentary, no trying to help, no feedback, just listen with an open heart. And then the other speaks, and you take that turn just for a couple of minutes, each talking and sharing something that you have been wanting to say, and maybe you were afraid to say. And you can even say that. I was afraid to say this because I thought you would get mad at me. I was afraid to say this because I felt scared and ashamed. Whatever your truth is, because if you don't express what is true and you keep it buried and hidden, you can never open up to the love. It's just going to be hidden along with the rest of it. So that's number one. Number two is sharing gratitude for each other every day. I have a great little practice where I just leave a love note celebrating each other. It's such a beautiful little thing to find, some wonderful gratitude that you're receiving. I'd also recommend that you consider being grateful for the times of challenge, because these challenges are really a beautiful opportunity to learn about yourself. We're all really mirrors, reflections of each other. And we can use these opportunities to heal and free up and connect deeply when we are willing to look inside with a humble heart. Number three is connecting with nature. We are part of nature. And I find, it's funny, I asked both of my daughters the same question. I said, how do you feel most connected with mother? And they both said to me, nature. They both said going out, being in the woods, feeling the earth, feeling the water. That's where they feel connected inside. It's a place where there are no distractions. So, touching the earth, water, fire, gazing into those flames, breathing the air, feeling the wind. I love riding my bike and just feeling like I'm soaring in the wind. Notice also which element that you're most drawn to and use it for healing and energy. And you could share in this experience together. The element will change day to day, maybe even within one day. You might feel like, oh, I just want to be near fire and, warmth and heat and being in a sauna or, whatever that is that brings that energy to you and nurtures you in that way, gives you energy. And finally, number 4, giving each other a massage. I mention this because touch is so powerful. Um, it's part of our humanity, and it's a beautiful way to experience that sense of being cared for, loved, and nurtured. It's so wonderful when you just set aside some time with each other. It could be once a week. It may be not as often, but I think, it's certainly why be skimp on it? And it's your special time together. And mother mentoring. I have mentioned this to you several times during this webinar. Um, what is that exactly? Uh, the way that I describe it is a woman who can compassionately and powerfully be a clear reflection of support and guidance to empower you to reclaim who you are as a wise woman, to have faith and stand up and fully receive with love and respect, courage and inner strength. This is a picture of my mother mentor who was around me for many years. Her name is Rita Rivera Fox. Excuse me 1 second, I need some water. I'd like to share with you what I personally have gotten from my mother mentor, which actually my description does say so much. But in my personal experience, what happened for me was I met her just prior to my divorce 12 years ago. And before that time, I really didn't have boundaries, as I mentioned earlier. I didn't fully stand up for myself. She empowered me. She had faith in me when I didn't. She used to say to me, I will hold faith for you until you're ready to hold your own. I never felt disempowered by her. I always felt like she kept giving it to me. And that's what I got so inspired with all of what I've done over the years. As I said, that calling came to me so strongly to be doing this with women. And it felt so natural for me to do. I hold the faith for others until they're ready to hold their own and empower and be that clear reflection. So how it basically works is it's a one-on-one experience with a mom and daughter together or separately, and we usually Skype or in person, and those sessions run from like a half hour to an hour depending upon what is happening. They're usually in a package of 6 once a week, and we begin with this pre-strategy session to determine if we're a good fit. So that's mother mentoring. So the question I posed earlier, I mentioned, is that if you do want to go deeper, I would share what I offer to heal and celebrate your relationship. The first was the mother mentoring, which is what I just mentioned. And currently, I am accepting applications for what I call my radical love breakthrough session to determine if we are a good fit. And if you go to my website, I was actually going to just tap in this, type in here into this window the link, and you can just click on it. So there is that one. Or you can go and just email me at grace@graceventura.com with your request for an application. The other thing I wanted to share with you is the Mother Daughter Roadmap has gone online. And this is a program, Connect and Empower in 30 Days. It's going to begin May 15th. And I think it's a beautiful Mother's Day gift. Um, this program, basically, what the way it's set up is each morning for 30 days, you will receive an inspiring, thoughtful, really deepening, fun experience to share. And this is a time where you're dedicating 30 days with each other. These experiences will range from a few minutes to a couple of hours. You'll do things, different projects, art projects, experiences, guided meditations that really inspire and help to deepen your own relationship with yourself and with each other. um, Different rapport building exercises, those dyads. Um, we will also have two group calls that we will meet during the 30 days to share, meditate. There's going to be downloadable guided journeys video where we'll create art together. It will be just this wonderful program I'm very excited about. And my special offer for all of you on this webinar tonight is that I'm including 3 additional guided journeys and my mini book that I wrote called The 4 Alignments of Self-Care, which is the journey of aligning body, mind, and spirit to cultivate excellent self-care. So those usually this program is $297 and I'm taking $100 off, so it's just $197 if you register before tomorrow at midnight. I think this is such a beautiful way to share with your daughter. It doesn't matter how old you are, to share with your mom. um, and again, if you register by tomorrow night, you get that price of $197. If you're uncertain of what would be better for you, you can schedule a free session with me, with that pre-strategy session, to see what will work best for you. I'm going to also type in here the link for the Mother Daughter online program, um, so that you can get to that easily too. Okay, now, again, that's how to register. And what I would like to do right now is I'm going to unmute, and I'd like to take a few minutes to answer any questions. And if you would like to share from what you did, the questions that I asked and you worked, if there's anything you want to share about those, I'd love to hear from you. You are unmuted. Does anyone have any questions? So quiet. Okay. Well, how has this been for you? You're welcome to type something in as well if you don't want to speak.
Well, I can speak and just say that I can relate to everything you've talked about. Um, and I feel that where I am in my life currently is kind of in process of, you know, healing that, sort of coming back. I'm in the process of coming back from this disconnected place, a powerless place. And I'm learning to, I think somewhere in the call you talked about finding an inner mother.
Mm-hmm.
I'm learning to do that. I've begun to learn how to do that and, be able to, learning to be able to be there for myself in that kind of mother way.
Wonderful. That's
Yeah.
where it begins.
Yeah. So, but I absolutely relate to, I mean, all the things you say are, yep, make a lot of sense and jive with my experience.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing that.
hmm It's interesting too because before the call, and I looked at one of the things you said was discover how you broke your own heart, and I was kind of like, I wonder what she's going to say about that. And then when we came to that part, it was, oh yeah, that, yeah, I did
Yes.
that. Yeah, there were definitely, like, part of recovering myself has been, facing the ways that I sold out on myself in order to gain acceptance or approval or, you know, prove my worth. So, yep, I hear you on that one.
Yes, we give ourselves up.
Yep, yep,
And then it's such a pleasure to find it again.
yeah, yep, yeah. I'm still in the
Wonderful.
process of that.
Well, it is a process. And, it's the only thing that gets in the way is the mind.
Mhm.
So thank you. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Well, if there's no one else that has any questions or wants to share, um, I'll just let it open for just another moment before I close this line, the webinar up. Okay. Well, I've thoroughly enjoyed sharing this with you. This is such a passion of mine, and I feel like it's so important. This work is so important for women, for us, as to heal these places, especially at this time in the world and what's happening. It's as I said in the beginning, this is a very powerful time, and it's so important that we address what is happening in ourselves and in the history of with women, to really step out there and to stand in your power. And it doesn't mean it's about force. It doesn't mean it's about pushing something or being aggressive, because obviously that's been the masculine way. And it's more about merging and finding a way to dance with that masculine within ourselves.
Hmm.
I have so much more to say about that at perhaps
Hmm.
another time, but I've really enjoyed being here with you, and thank you for joining me. And again, if you want any more information and to speak with me further, I have shared how to reach me, and I'd love to hear from you. So, thank you again, and have a wonderful evening.
Great. Thank you so much, Grace.
Good night.
Good night.